Introducing saffron. A degree of uncertainty surrounds the origin of the English word, saffron. It might stem from the 12th century Old French term saffron, which comes from the Latin word saffranum, from the Arabic, which comes from the Persian word zarparan meaning gold-strung, implying either the golden stamens of the flower or the golden color it creates when used as flavor. Perennial, growing to 23 centimeters from a bulb-like corm. Saffron plant has narrow leaves up to 260 millimeters long. In autumn it produces purple flowers 3.5 to 5 centimeters long, which contain 3 bright red thread-like stigmas. Bown, p. 268 to 269. Chevallier, p. 194. Native to India, the Balkans, and the Eastern Mediterranean, saffron is cultivated in a number of countries in these areas, and in recent years in New Zealand. Saffron is a hardy little plant which prefers well-drained soil in a warm situation, in full sun. It can be propagated by offsets removed from the parent corm in late spring. Flowers are picked when open and the pistils removed for drying. It does not store well and should be used within a year of harvesting. The saffron crocus, unknown in the wild, probably descends from Crocus cartritianus. It is a triploid that is self-incompatible and male-sterile. It undergoes aberrant meiosis and is hence incapable of independent sexual reproduction. All propagation is by vegetative multiplication via manual divide and set of a starter clone or by interspecific hybridization. Crocus sativus thrives in the Mediterranean maquis, an ecotype superficially resembling the North American chaparral, and similar climates where hot and dry summer breezes sweep semi-arid lands. It can nonetheless survive cold winters, tolerating frosts as low as -10 degrees Celsius, 14 degrees Fahrenheit, and short periods of snow cover. Some reports suggest saffron can tolerate an air temperature range from -22 to 40 degrees Celsius. Irrigation is required if grown outside of moist environments such as Kashmir, where annual rainfall averages 1,000 to 1,500 millimeters, 40 to 60 in. Saffron growing regions in Greece, 500 millimeters or 20 in annually, and Spain, 400 millimeters or 16 in, are far drier than the main cultivating Iranian regions. What makes this possible is the timing of the local wet seasons. Generous spring rains and drier summers are optimal. Rain immediately preceding flowering boosts saffron yields. Rainy or cold weather during flowering promotes disease and reduces yields. Persistently damp and hot conditions harm the crops, and rabbits, rats, and birds cause damage by digging up corms. Nematodes, leaf rusts, and corm rot pose other threats. Yet Bacillus subtilis inoculation may provide some benefit to growers by speeding corm growth and increasing stigma biomass yield. The plants fare poorly in shady conditions. They grow best in full sunlight. Fields that slope towards the sunlight are optimal. Planting is mostly done in June in the northern hemisphere, where corms are lodged 7 to 15 centimeters, 3 to 6 in, deep. Its roots, stems, and leaves can develop between October and February. Planting depth and corm spacing, in concert with climate, are critical factors in determining yields. Mother corms planted deeper yield higher quality saffron, though they form fewer flower buds and daughter corms. Italian growers optimize thread yield by planting 15 centimeters, 6 in, deep and in rows 2 to 3 centimeters, optimize flower and corm production. Greek, Moroccan, and Spanish growers employ distinct depths and spacings that suit their locales. C. sativus prefers friable, loose, low-density, well-watered, and well-drained clay calcareous soils with high organic content. Traditional raised beds promote good drainage. Soil organic content was historically boosted via application of some 20 to 30 tons per hectare, 9 to 13 short tons per acre, of manure. Afterwards, and with no further manure application, corms were planted. After a period of dormancy through the summer, The corms send up their narrow leaves and begin to bud in early autumn. Only in mid-autumn do they flower. Harvests are by necessity a speedy affair. After blossoming at dawn, flowers quickly wilt as the day passes. All plants bloom within a window of 1 or 2 weeks. Stigmas are dried quickly upon extraction and, preferably, sealed in airtight containers. Saffron has been prized as a spice and colorant for over 4,000 years. Some doubts remain on the origin of saffron, but it is believed that it originated in Iran. However, Greece and Mesopotamia have also been suggested as the possible region of origin. Harold McGee states that it was domesticated in or near Greece during the Bronze Age. C. sativus is possibly a triploid form of Crocus cartritianus, which is also known as wild saffron. Saffron crocus slowly propagated throughout much of Eurasia and was later brought to parts of North Africa, North America, and Oceania. West Asia. Saffron was detailed in a 7th century BC Assyrian botanical reference compiled under Ashurbanipal. Documentation of saffron's use over the span of 3,500 years has been uncovered. Saffron-based pigments have indeed been found in 50,000-year-old depictions of prehistoric places in northwest Iran. The Sumerians later used wild-growing saffron in their remedies and magical potions. Saffron was an article of long-distance trade before the Minoan palace culture's 2nd millennium BC peak. Ancient Persians cultivated Persian saffron in Derbent, Isfahan, and Khorasan by the 10th century BC. At such sites, saffron threads were woven into textiles, ritually offered to divinities, and used in dyes, perfumes, medicines, and body washes. Saffron threads would thus be scattered across beds and mixed into hot teas as a curative for bouts of melancholy. Non-Persians also feared the Persians' usage of saffron as a drugging agent and aphrodisiac. During his Asian campaigns, Alexander the Great used Persian saffron in his infusions, rice, and baths as a curative for battle wounds. Alexander's troops imitated the practice from the Persians and brought saffron bathing to Greece. South Asia. Conflicting theories explain saffron's arrival in South Asia. Kashmiri and Chinese accounts date its arrival anywhere between 2,500 and 900 years ago. Historians studying ancient Persian records date the arrival to sometime prior to 500 BC, attributing it to a Persian transplantation of saffron corms to stock new gardens and parks. Phoenicians then marketed Kashmiri saffron as a dye and a treatment for melancholy. Its use in foods and dyes subsequently spread throughout South Asia. Buddhist monks wear saffron-colored robes. However, the robes are not dyed with costly saffron but turmeric, a less expensive dye, or jackfruit. Monks' robes are dyed the same color to show equality with each other, and turmeric or ochre were the cheapest, most readily available dyes. Gamboge is also used to dye the robes. East Asia. Some historians believe that saffron came to China with Mongol invaders from Persia. Yet it is mentioned in ancient Chinese medical texts, including the 40-volume Shenang Bensaojing, a pharmacopoeia written around 300–200 BC. Traditionally credited to the legendary Yan Emperor and the deity Shenang, it discusses 252 plant-based medical treatments for various disorders. Nevertheless, around the 3rd century AD, the Chinese were referring to it as having a Kashmiri provenance. According to the herbalist Wan Zhen, the habitat of saffron is in Kashmir, where people grow it principally to offer it to the Buddha. Wan also reflected on how it was used in his time. The flower withers after a few days, and then the saffron is obtained. It is valued for its uniform yellow color. It can be used to aromatize wine. Southeast Mediterranean. The Minoans portrayed saffron in their palace frescoes by 1600 to 1500 BC. They hinted its possible use as a therapeutic drug. Ancient Greek legends told of sea voyages to Cilicia, where adventurers sought what they believed were the world's most valuable threads. Another legend tells of Crocus and Smilax, whereby Crocus is bewitched and transformed into the first saffron crocus. Ancient perfumers in Egypt, physicians in Gaza, townspeople in Rhodes, and the Greek hetaerae courtesans used saffron in their scented waters, perfumes and potpourris, mascaras and ointments, divine offerings, and medical treatments. In late Ptolemaic Egypt, Cleopatra used saffron in her baths so that lovemaking would be more pleasurable. Egyptian healers used saffron as a treatment for all varieties of gastrointestinal ailments. Saffron was also used as a fabric dye in such Levantine cities as Sidon and Tyre in Lebanon. Aulus Cornelius Celsus prescribes saffron in medicines for wounds, cough, colic, and scabies, and in the Mithridateum.